Welcome. We're back in session with your host Jay of What's Going On, a Social Studies Network podcast. Now let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of What's Going On, a Social Studies Network podcast. Today we are with
Jose. Yep.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yep. Just finishing up my last semester of junior year and heading into senior year.
Yay. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a junior and I go to UIUC, Urbana. A little more about me. I like to play music, and kind of one of the roles I play with the Social Studies Network is that I make TikToks, kind of just about social studies and kind of what's going on, current events in the world.
Okay, love that. Social media guy. I'm terrible at technology, and I'm just a TikTok scroller. I don't post anything. And sometimes I like to start arguments in the comments. And
I feel you on that.
To stir some things up, bring back some bitter feelings from some debates that you can have in your comments. But we see an argument. I probably started that, and I'm hoping that it'll boost the algorithm.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
No, that's it. Yeah. Just looking forward to senior year and being done with college.
Yes, getting on my body. So much. I cannot wait to get on my body. Enjoyable experience, but I'm ready to leave. Not here. So the first question I like to ask everyone is, what did you think of social studies before, and what do you think of social studies now? So I guess because we're in college, you could say, what did you think of social studies before you came to college, and what do you think about it now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say kind of growing up, I feel like I didn't appreciate social studies as much as I do now.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just just learn like whatever you learn in class and take it from there. But I kind of feel like now, and like kind of like what I'm doing with the Social Studies Network and researching stuff on my own time, I kind of feel like I'm starting to appreciate it more and kind of realizing like there's so much I don't know that like probably I don't have to know, but like there's so much history that I don't know, like so much has happened before me that I don't know, and it's just kind of made me just more curious to just learn more about the past. And so I kind of just see like social studies now is just like something that that I kind of want to just learn more about and just just learn more about, because there's just so much that I don't learn. And there's like, there's a lot of people that will probably be like, no, it's in the past, like history, it's probably not as important as current, but it's just, we can learn so much from history in the past. So that's why I think it's just important to keep learning, which is why I'm into it a lot more now.
I think that you said something that's like a common theme with social studies that I've been having a lot of conversations, such as it's a continuous learning journey. There's a lot of things that you didn't know that you know now. And obviously like that's never our fault, but it's nice that you appreciate it more now, because a lot of people I feel like just think it's pretty boring. But I know that I talked about trying to boost your algorithms in the argument. What do you think about how the algorithm on TikTok runs, and how do you think that can influence or impact the way that people use TikTok?
Yeah, that's another good question. I would say the thing I think that people like about TikTok so much is that it's kind of random. I feel like most people agree that it's kind of random, like the way algorithm works, where it could be someone with like no followers can get millions of views, and then someone with like a decent amount of followers, say they have like 100K followers, right? They can just get like 100K followers, or probably views, and probably less, but someone like no followers can get a bunch of views. And I think that's what people like about it so much, is that anyone, they don't have to be famous, just anyone can just use their platform and just get a bunch of views on it, just because it's kind of just the random, the random algorithm where it kind of starts off with just a few people, right? Yeah. Where it's like, I think it's like 10 people see it, and then if those 10 people like it, probably respond, like depends on how long they watch it for. Then it goes out to another 10,
Mhm.
and then it goes out to 50, and then 100, and then like more people like it, just keeps going out. So like, I think that's what kind of separates TikTok from like Instagram and like probably like Snapchat and all those other social media, is that it's like you don't really need a following to get your stuff out there or
Yeah.
whatever you're trying to talk about. You know.
I think that's interesting because I've come across pages of people who have like 2 million followers, like, and I've never heard of them before. And I think that's pretty common. Like sometimes there are going to be people out there who have a large following or they're doing something and you don't know who they are. But I feel like within like our like society now when it comes to social media, if anybody has over a certain amount of followers, you expect to have heard something of them,
Yeah.
have their video come across like your For You page at some point. And I think that's interesting because there's a conversation, it was like a while ago, probably around pandemic time, about like what is considered famous on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were saying like you get a lot of followers, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're famous or that people are necessarily paying attention to you. It's just you garner
Yeah.
a lot of followers. So like that, what do you think like that, like how that system works with TikTok? How do you think that will influence or impact people who are trying to use TikTok as an education platform to learn about topics such as your TikTok channel?
Yeah. I mean, like for me personally, like I started with like no followers, and
Mhm.
as like I wouldn't say we have a large following yet, but like the views, we're getting a lot more views than we should with our following.
Mhm.
So I think that like with social studies, and like what we're trying to talk about through TikTok, I think kind of benefits the way like the algorithm, like the way TikTok works.
Mhm.
But I would also just say like kind of just with, I mean, mainly TikTok. I mean, and like a lot of people know like TikTok's making a lot of dancing and
Yeah.
like funny stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of political stuff and like serious stuff on there. And then like what I'm trying to do, and I think what Social Studies Network is trying to do is just kind of just give information, just tell people stories that they don't know about.
Mhm.
And that can be difficult sometimes because a lot of people, they don't want to go on TikTok and probably like not learn too much about school because they just probably came from school,
Of course.
But I think that's why we like to talk about a lot of current events
Mhm.
because that's stuff that's going on currently and they can relate to and they can be like, oh, I didn't know about that. But I think people are like willing to learn. I mean, that's the thing about TikTok; it's very short, and so the attention span doesn't need to be very long.
Yeah.
And if you're quick and you can give people little facts about stuff, then I think people will like it. So I think that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, I think what's cool about that is like if you see a TikTok video that's like informational, educational, whatever you want to call it, but you're interested in it, you're gonna go and research that and probably do it. Because I do that a lot. Like I see something that's like really interesting, and I'm like, now I'm Google for 2
Yep.
hours.
Yeah.
Well, what is going on? Like, what did I just learn about in this like little short TikTok? Which I think is interesting because now they've like upped the time from like 15 seconds to 30 seconds to like a minute to like 3 minutes.
Yeah, like now you can do like 3 minutes. I don't know why I think it's 5, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. Like the max you can do is 3 because at first it was just like 30 to like
Yeah.
a minute. Yeah.
Honestly, I think 3 minutes sometimes could be really long.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been through a whole 3 minute TikTok. I'm watching that. Yeah, I'm on TikTok to watch short stuff and that's it. But yeah.
No, I most definitely save stuff and I'm like, I'm gonna go back and watch it.
Yeah,
Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I'm like, I know like if you don't watch the full thing, like it's more harmful. But I'm like, dang, why did you make this 3 minutes? Like you could chop it up into like 30 sections. But I think what's interesting about what you said about like people are going on there watching dance and things like that. I've seen many TikToks that was like educational, informational in that space where people are like doing makeup, but the background information, like the voiceover is of something that's important that's happening, or someone doing something like weird or quirky or whatever the case may be to grab people's attention, but the background sound or the voiceover is like of something that's supposed to be like important to send out to the masses, which I think is pretty interesting. There was a debate about that. Like, why are you doing makeup and you're talking about someone who lost life in a humane way, or why are you doing makeup and you're talking about injustice? And I was like, I thought that was a pretty interesting, like that whole debate. Because I'm like, on one hand, they're trying to garner more attention to that important situation. But sometimes the part that gains attention can overshadow what they're trying to do. So I guess it just depends on what it is. Because I've seen it work. And I've seen other people who are like, this was completely inappropriate. Don't ever do this again. But I want to talk about, if I get into other questions, what does your process look like for, the videos?
Making TikTok, yeah. So I kind of changed my process up a little. So what I started to do first was that I wanted to make like kind of edit videos and like put pictures in and like put like the words in, right?
Mhm.
To kind of make it, I guess, like probably like more fancier, you know, in a way. But I kind of changed it up a little because I feel like on TikTok, people like to feel like they're like having a conversation with someone.
Mhm.
And I kind of, I mean, the best thing to do about TikTok is like see what the people have a lot of followers and views and see what they're doing. So that's what I kind of did. And I mean, there's not a lot of people I see doing stuff on like social studies, but even like people, someone talk about politics or just kind of like current event stuff that still happens a lot on TikTok. Kind of look at what they're doing and like they're showing their face and like kind of acting like they're having a conversation with someone, you know. So like that's the main thing about TikTok is like kind of showing your face and act like you're talking with someone. So what I started doing, like after a few videos, I started showing my face
Mhm.
because at first I didn't do it, and also it's like it kind of is a little easier to do it because it's like I'm kind of just like I'm the person that's kind of presenting instead of me having to like make this whole type of presentation um with like words and stuff like that. So it's easier in a way, but it's also better because people feel like they're having a conversation with me. But besides that part, so I started doing that, and then what I would do is that so I kind of make a list of like what I want to talk about in the month, whether it's like Women's History Month just passed, so I talk about that, and like some current events will pop up. Right, if something big happens, I'll be like, okay, that's what I want to talk about this week. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll kind of set a schedule of what I want to make, and then I'll start to research those topics, and then just kind of gather some pictures out I want to put in the TikTok, and then and then from there I'll just keep gathering more research, and then I'll kind of decide how I want to like set it up, right? Like what I want to talk about in the beginning, because you know, like you want to grab the attention, you know, like you don't want to have like a set routine, but you want to grab the attention so they don't swipe right away. And then I kind of from there kind of try to get like an attention grabber, and then just like kind of the facts I want to talk about. And I'll probably ask a question or something at the end because like I said, you know, on TikTok, people want to like be engaged, you know, it's kind of like community. So kind of ask the question, be like, what do you think in the comments of this? Or like, what are your thoughts on this, you know? So yeah, that's kind of like the process I take.
Yeah, as a future educator who needs technology, it almost sounds like a process that a teacher would take.
Yeah.
Lesson plan, figure out what works, what doesn't work, learn from their last lesson plan, maybe from the last semester, last year, last week, and then they go and they change it and they make it so that it could be interactive with the students in your community, creating a community in the classroom, making sure your students are engaged so they don't lose that interest and that attention span in what you're talking about. I think it's also interesting about, just with the teacher being in front of the classroom or walking around talking to their students instead of just being at their desk and things like that. So I think that that's really cool. And I think that with that, how do you think that, teachers can use TikTok as a multimodal way to teach and educate their students when it comes to topics like social studies?
Well, I think the main thing, I mean, to look at it is like kind of like how can we have kids have more fun, or like how can we like relate to kids, and like lots of young kids from like I mean even probably second to third grade are on TikTok. I mean, kind of everyone's on TikTok. The young ages, like all the kids know like the little dances and stuff, you know. So it's just like when you kind of like try to relate, be like, hey, like on TikTok, I know you're on there. Like look at some of these videos that you know that are educational, you know, and I think that's the way like I guess teachers can use it in a way it's kind of like relate to students and kind of just I guess evolve in a way. I mean, I don't think I love TikTok, but I mean I don't think it should like replace any way of like teaching people. I think it's a good addition, but I don't think it should like replace like the way we teach, you know? Yeah. But I think it's a good way like for another like for kids, younger kids to learn. But yeah, I think but I think TikTok's good just because, you know, like it's short and it's good like for fun facts like these kids can learn. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it's like replace the way they're learning, but it could just be a way that students can relate. Because I remember like when I was younger, just like we use a lot of technology. Like I remember we used to have iPads, and even if we used to do an assignment, like let's say we had to write something down, like even if it was just to write on the iPad or just like do like an activity on the iPad, it just made it a little more fun or more engaging just because we're using technology. And like now, like all these kids have this technology, and now it's like TikTok, where it's like, okay, like how can we use TikTok to like make the kids have more fun, but also educate them? So like probably looking at videos like Social Studies Network that's talking about history. So
yeah, I think that's interesting because I remember like I think maybe when I was in the 7th or 8th grade, they started bringing like iPads into the curriculum. And it was always like really fun, even though it was educational. Because we always used to make jokes like, "Ooh, our school got money, we got iPads." Like, I don't know, just something that was really interesting. And I think it also helped get like kids more engaged because so many of my peers had phones and things of that sort. Me, I didn't have a phone. I wasn't allowed to get a phone until I graduated 8th grade. But you know that I had an iPod though. I have a fifth generation little iPad.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like this.
It's like, that was my little form of technology. So I like being able to, increase my technology and have it. My family is old school, pen, paper,
Yeah.
write it out, read the books and whatnot. And then also too, like going to like high school and just having a lot more communication like through technology, education through technology was very important because of like language barriers sometimes and just different ways that students learn different, I want to say, I'm trying to figure out the right terminology to use. But just students who have a different schooling process and a different schooling mindset. Technology can be very, very beneficial. But also, I am on Teacher Talk. I'm on a lot of talk, but I'm on Teacher Talk.
Yeah.
And something that I've noticed is that like you can tell that the relationship between the student and the teachers are so strong within their videos because of the way they get to interact and create videos with each other. Like, look at us set up our room. Look at the books that we did. Like, oh, look at us like roasting our teacher. And I think that is pretty cool because not only could it be a learning tool, but it just could be a way to connect with students because something that I noticed between like when I was in like 8th grade, 7th grade, and high school, more kids have phones now. More kids have technology. Like, I mean, I'm not that old, but people like a lot of people have phones and technology when I was younger, but not as many as
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Like,
oh my God, I'm like
first, second grade, third,
iPhone. And I'm like, dang,
that's crazy.
like, y'all got the iPhone 14 Pro Max with a case and the fastest charger. Like, they're like, oh, we need FaceTime. I'm like, FaceTime. Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yep.
But I think it's like really important, especially now. I think a lot of schools are trying to figure out how to manage technology within their classrooms because something that I've noticed within conversation with my peers is that a lot of our schools that we went to, noble, Catholic, and charter schools, a lot of those schools didn't allow you to have your phones out.
Yeah.
And so now a lot of schools are like rearranging their rules and trying to figure out like, are the students are going to have it anyway? How can and I
balance that.
And I think it's really important to have TikTok in that space or be able to use social media in that space because it no longer becomes a thing of your phone is punishable. Your phone is a distraction. Is now your phone has become a part of the learning environment, especially because so many phones and technologies are in competition with each other, and we're kind of in a technology-based society, with all the like Chat GPT and just all the the nuances and the fears that come with like increasing and I'm blanking on the word I really should have the word that I was looking at, but just like the increasing and is betterment the word? I'm an English major. I should know that. Whatever. And the bettering of technology. But with that, there is some, debate, some tension about whether TikTok is going to stay. Is it gonna go? How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So what I would say is that when it comes to social media, I mean, I feel like honestly with anything, there's always gonna be good and bad, like TikTok is just a platform, like it doesn't actually create anything. Like we as humans have to create stuff on the app, right? So TikTok alone is not bad, right? Instagram alone, but someone on Instagram can post something racist, right? Yeah. And then it's bad, and then people are like, look at what you can do on this app, right? You're able to spread hate, right? But like if you really think about it, like I feel like you can do that in anything, like with anything in that, and that's kind of the issue where it's like, okay, does the good outweigh the bad, And like with TikTok, like I'm thinking, like I'm not sure if just like with anything, there's been so many jobs created through TikTok, and I feel like a lot of people don't really appreciate. I mean, not appreciate it, but like some people see that as a bad way. Like even from like, I mean, there's people I know that like do food reviews, right? They start just making videos, and now they get to travel, right, the country and like go to restaurants and do food reviews for a living now. And I think that's just awesome, like there's been like I'm trying to think, like I mean there's been people like other types of like there's food reviews, I mean, even like singers, like people who like to sing, right? Like they post something and then it blows up. And there's even something crazy where like there's someone that posted like a dot on their like something like a dot on their back, and they're like, what is this? And like a doctor duetted it. Again, they're like, yeah, like you possibly could have cancer or something. They went to check and it was cancerous, then they got it out and they're fine now. Like just little things like that is just crazy. Where it's just like you built this community on TikTok, where it's like even though there's been so much bad, like even like the little things like that, like there's been so much good through it. That it just seems um that like apps like this are just very crucial because it's like I feel like other apps like Instagram, and I kind of said this already, but like Facebook, like the way that TikTok has made it a very community where people are able to just share and speak with each other through comments. It's not really like that through other apps. And I think that's like what makes TikTok really special. But when it comes more to the ban, personally, I'm kind of against it. Like I think TikTok should stay, and I feel like most people agree with that too now. Kind of like what we kind of saw what was happening. Like the president of TikTok, I think he went against like Senate, and he had to like just answer a bunch of questions, and people kind of felt like he was just kind of being attacked, and some of the questions were like not good. Like they were just like why are you asking this? Like we have to connect to our Wi-Fi, like you know our location, stuff like that. Just stuff questions like that. But yeah, I think TikTok should stay, and I just think that I mean just stuff like this, like what we're doing here, like we're spreading history and like talking about current events. And yeah, I think this is just one of the ways where like the good kind of outweighs the bad.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean like whatever platform you give someone, we have to choose what we do with it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think just because some people choose to do bad doesn't mean we take away all the good and what people can do that's good through the app. Yeah.
I think oh my God, you brought up such a good point. And I'm so happy that I can bring this up because about sometimes things are not just good and bad, they're systemic. And unfortunately, our social media site of TikTok plays into a political systemic, thing where I just don't feel like it's just about the good and bad. If it was about the good and bad, they would have got rid of TikTok a long time ago. But I feel like TikTok has always been through controversy, through the system of this is not created by Americans. This is created by China. By someone that is from China. So it's the Chinese app. And if we think about our political history during the pandemic, when Trump called this he made like such a racist terminology for the virus. And
I remember it. I know what you're talking about. I actually but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there was so much there's like all the Asian hate that was going on. There's so many horrible things that were happening because of our political climate, because of the fear that was happening, because we were in a situation where none of us were prepared for it. None of us had truly experienced. We were trying to figure things out left and right. And I think that TikTok took like a lot of the brunt of it all because it was something that was easy to fall back on. Are you gonna add something?
Oh no.
No, okay.
No. You're good.
Like you wanted to add something.
No, you're good.
But I think that is like really interesting the way that our political system will use anything that it can grab at to push an agenda of fear, to push an agenda of xenophobia in a way. Because even with like you talked about the good and bad, and like going back to the algorithm, I don't agree with the ban either, because there's so many things that we can learn from TikTok, such as like when it first started, there's a lot of debate going around because of the standards that they had written of what you had to look like, what tax bracket you had to be in, who you had to be, what they were looking for on their app to, push people forward.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Things like that. And a lot of like Black creators were like, so we are getting like the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were debating about it. And I feel like you brought up an important conversation. And I think if we got rid of it, it would be very harmful to lots of groups of people. It would be very harmful to our political climate and our community and our social climate, because we're able to use this simple platform, simple social media. People have so many ideas about what social media is, what it's supposed to do, what it's not supposed to do. I was like the devil that demons of society. But I think it like did an important thing. It brought a lot of people together. And I think it just brought up many conversations, especially for our generation, that I think is really important. But I just think like it just sucks that it has to be political. I wish I could just say it's a good, it's a bad thing. We have to look at who's benefiting from this.
Yeah.
Who's not benefiting from this. And why did they choose to target TikTok? You know, why didn't they choose to actually not? This is a good question because we see who created Instagram, we
Yeah.
see who created Facebook,
Yeah.
we see who created this. We have movies about these people, we have documentaries, we have interviews. They're in our political system, like influencing decisions,
Yeah.
having big worldwide conferences with our politicians now. And if we think about the state of the world when it comes to politics, education, and politics in school, you know, with like the book bannings, which I know you talked about that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, maybe you want to get into that before I say my 2 cents about it.
You're talking about like the AP ban or
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, that's another example. I believe it was Florida or like around
Mhm.
Georgia that was banning AP Black History. And like honestly, that was one of the videos that I really liked making the most
Mhm.
because that was one of the things where I kind of got to dive in a little deeper and kind of learn about like what was going on there. And it was great to kind of see like people talk in the comments. Like I've never created a video like that before where kind of people going back and forth. Like it never got too crazy, but it was like just a long thread of just kind of people going back and forth. And even though it was people agreeing with it, disagreeing with it, it was just kind of nice to see like people civilized, just having a conversation and being like feeling safe to share about um their opinions. And like that's one thing I like about TikTok. And that's also bad about it. It's like, you know, you're not in person, right? So people feel safe to kind of say whatever they want, right? Whereas someone who's shy and like wouldn't probably say this in person like they say it on TikTok, or they're saying something that they should not be saying, but they're just saying it because it's online, you know, you're not face to face. But I think in a way, like just TikTok has kind of created a safe space. So like in sections where it's just like, you know what, I don't really agree with this. Like, let me say this, right? And hopefully people respond respectfully, and then we can have a conversation about it. And that's kind of what was happening in kind of the AP Black History and how like this kind of like roots like kind of to something deeper, and how um and how like this is just like I mean like it's kind of just racist, you know.
Mhm.
So but yeah, like that was just kind of I think for me that was kind of when I realized like what I was doing was kind of really having an impact because like I was kind of thinking about when I started this like what's my goal was to just spread knowledge, you know, but I think what my goal is now, like what I really want to do is just kind of create a community and kind of like be able to put people on a platform to talk about what they want. And like I kind of feel like when I made the video about AP Black History, it kind of showcased that. So
What did you learn from the conversation that you see in your conversation?
one thing I learned is that well, like kind of the people who are having this conversation was because it's about education. There's like people who are teachers and students talking about, and I'm talking about, and I kind of figured out that you know like people can really have like civil conversations, and talk about it because I mean lots of the stuff on TikTok like I said is not about education. So when you see people arguing, it's not anything that's like you know not that deep, right? People are arguing about like oh I like this dance or not, you know like that's not that big of a deal. But to like see people talk about um like the way our school system runs and have a conversation about that. It kind of just like maybe learned that you know people can have conversation on a social media platform that has depth, you know, it has meaning that like it has purpose, you know, like when people talk in the comments, you know, it's like this doesn't really matter, you know. But it's like I feel like when it's stuff about like social studies, like this really does matter because probably someone who thought it should be banned, they kind of had a conversation or read and was like, no, it may be like like there's no reason why this should be banned, you know? So I just think that's something like I learned about it. Learned about the video is just that, you know, like people want to share their opinions. Like people have so much to share. They just need a space to do it. So yeah.
Yes. All right. All right. Okay. You're connecting my points so well right now. 2 things that you said, it matters. And so many people want to have a voice. So often in our society and in our culture, so many people do not have a voice. But we're seeing it at a large scale with our government, with College Board, Ron DeSantis, actually being quite successful with taking away a multitude of histories. You know, not just with Black history, because once you start there, you can start taking away a plethora of things such as the LGBTQ plus community, Native histories, Hispanic histories, which are histories that aren't at the forefront anyway, but they will continue to diminish because of the powers that our politicians have to, you know, take away these things from the minds and the eyes and the schools and of our upcoming children. We see this at the large scale. TikTok is a platform that allows people who don't have a voice, who can't go to these conferences, who can't go to these rallies, who can't go to the meetings,
Yeah.
who, even if they could, no one would pay attention to them, no one would listen to them, they would get kicked out or probably won't even be let into the room. They have a space to connect with people from Texas to Michigan, to Colorado, to Chicago, to New York, to California, anywhere within the state, anywhere in the world, to be able to say, this is my opinion about this. I'm able to give my 2 cents. I'm able to make my voice matter, I'm able to make this situation matter. Because I can only imagine, like, if there was no outlet for people to share their voice and speak up about it, how would the story have gone?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's so many situations where the story would not have gone where it went if it wasn't for social media, like with that train crash, and it caused the oil spill and it's continuing. I wish I could remember where it happened, but it's contaminating that area's waters, which is something that is happened before, but no one is talking about it. And I found out about it from TikTok. I also found out about it through Instagram. And I'm like, they put it on the news for a second and they took it away. Then they started talking about Mar-a-Lago and everything and Trump's arrest and everything that's happening with that, which yes, that's important for us to know because he could be potentially
Yep.
there are other things that are going on. Travel and spread and affect everybody else in surrounding areas and even further than that. It's like it wasn't for people using their voice, using their platform, being in the comments, having a conversation, saying that this matters, like my voice matters, someone else's voices matter, like how would that like some sort of wouldn't go.
Yeah.
And that's just very fascinating that, you know, you're able to do that, which I honestly think is like really commendable. Because I've always wanted to use TikTok, but I'm scared. I don't know why. Like I'm so like you sort of like shy people. Like I use Instagram, but like I've been using Instagram literally since the logo was brown. And if you don't know about Instagram being brown, you just don't know Instagram. It was like before the gas stories.
Yeah. That was
stuff.
Yeah.
And so like being able to use my platform there, like during the pandemic, I was able to share so many things, like links for donations, links to listen to YouTube and watch YouTube videos if you didn't have money to donate, being able to be in conversation with people like who felt like, well, I didn't know about this, could you educate me about this? Or maybe I was wrong about an opinion that I had about something. And I'm like, send me the evidence. And they would send me the evidence and we would have a conversation about just different topics. So I think it's very important because not only does it show that our voice matters, sometimes we can speak up for other people. Because there's been many times where the family has been suffering from a tragic event and no one's talking about and no one's listening to them, but there is someone that spoke up for that person, for that family, for that instance, and was able to push their story forward and get people to, you know, talk about their story and get people to see that they're important and that their voice matters. Oh my God, my voice matters. It's literally going. But I think I would love if you could touch more on that safe space, you know, that you want to create. Like, how do you think that you can create that? Do you think it's a way to create, or do you think that the users and the watchers?
Well, I think that's the one thing that TikTok kind of did on its own a little. It's like they kind of created this safe space, which is why I kind of like TikTok, because I mean, like that's the thing where it's like TikTok is the platform, right? And then like we make a platform inside the platform, right? So I make my page and this is my platform. And then with inside my platform, there's people talking, right? So it's like I create that safe space, but like it's me and then it's like kind of TikTok in general. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like the way that like TikTok's designed with like the comments and the way you can like duet and like react with videos. It's just made it very like just interactive, right? And so it's just like it just makes it just a very safe space where people like it's like TikTok wants people to like communicate with each other, you know. Like Instagram kind of started off with just like it was like more, I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm pretty sure Instagram was really just for photographers to like post stuff. Like it wasn't really for like social media. And then like Snapchat came around, like that was for talking and the pictures, and the Instagram kind of like evolved a little, right? But TikTok was but like TikTok, like it was made for like community and like being interactive. So I think like the way like I said just before, like just duetting, like reacting to videos, and just like the way you can comment and like even like you can like make videos to a comment, right? Like usually on other apps you can just like common, right? Like on TikTok, you can literally like if you're the creator, actually I think anyone, you can literally go into the comment section, click on it, and then make a video about just that comment. Where it's like that's what makes it so like a safe space and where like you can connect with people where it's like a random person, like a famous person can literally look at your comment and then make a video about it, which I just think is really cool. But yeah, just kind of TikTok, just people have just feel really comfortable on TikTok. I mean, like I said before, like there's a lot of good with that and there's some bad because people can kind of share all their like thoughts, even if it's not even if like they shouldn't. But just like in general, like TikTok has just kind of created a space where people just feel comfortable to just share their opinions and share what they want to share to the world.
This is taking me to like earlier in the conversation when we talked about how this is a multimodal form of learning and education. With you saying like how you can create a video based on saying a comment and it can create a safe space. It's this content creator, I forgot her name, but she's deaf and she uses sign language a lot, but she has like went through learning how to like speak and talk at the same time. I mean, speak and sign at the same time. And so I remember like she made a video one time about what it's like watching videos on TikTok as a deaf person. And it's like nothing besides like why don't people start putting more captions on their videos? But I think it's like super important because there's like multimodality going on within the app. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to have that multimodality within the app and having that safe space for people to create nuances within the app that creates more enjoyment while they're using it and then being able to take it into the classroom and using it for people who could be deaf or who sign or whatever the case may be within their learning journey and their learning experience. I think like that's really cool, just being able to have those nuances that you can transfer. Sorry, that you can transfer back and forth. But when it comes to you as a content creator, how do you find ways to keep yourself safe within your own space? Because you do talk about different topics that affect you.
Yeah, that actually is a really good question. I never really thought about it. I mean, I've always kind of made TikTok videos, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like someone could easily. I haven't really think I've really gotten that much hate comments, but I mean, very easily someone could just comment and be like, "Why are you sharing this?" Or like, "I don't agree with this," or like, "This is a dumb video," like that stuff can happen. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it that much because I'm a little more new to this and like it hasn't really happened. But I guess I think the way what I'm doing is that I'm not really sharing my opinion as much. What I'm doing is that like was what I kind of talked about. Like I want to create a space for people to share their opinions, right? So what I do is that I give the facts because facts are facts, right? So I kind of give the facts, and like sometimes like I have to share my opinion. Like yeah, I don't think this is right, but most of the time I'm not really giving my opinion. I'm kind of like sharing the facts, and then I'm like, what do you guys think about this, right? So like for me, I feel like I haven't really been I haven't really kind of thought about myself like making sure I'm safe, but like so far I feel safe and feel comfortable like making the videos I made. But sometimes like if the people in the comments are like being rude to each other, then it's like it can make me feel a little unsafe because it's just like I created this video and like sometimes be like wow, like I created this video and like I gave these people like a platform to kind of like a space to kind of like share something rude or something, like sometimes I do think about that, but most of the time that's not the case. And but yeah, like so far I felt pretty comfortable, but just not really trying to give my opinion as much because it's not really my page, it's really the social studies network, and I'm just kind of like I'm just kind of like spreading knowledge for the social studies network. Like it's not really like my page, you know what I'm saying? So I'm really trying to just give the facts and then just like I said, like give people a chance to like share their opinions. Yeah.
Now that I have you thinking about it, what advice would you give to educators, scholars, people in general who want to do what you do or are doing what you are doing? What advice would you give to them to make sure they're creating a safe space for themselves and also dealing with the safeness that you create or maybe didn't create as well as you would have liked to?
Well, one thing I'd say, like, even for educators or just people who are new to TikTok, just like remember that TikTok is social media. It isn't a classroom. It doesn't have to be so formal. you know, like just remember that you're kind of talking to someone. You want to be very like just like informal, you know, like you don't want to seem like you're teaching someone, right? Like you want to feel like you're talking to someone, like and that could be in like way your tone, like, hey, like look at what I learned or something. Not very like presentation type for class, you know, on TikTok because people like they don't want to go on TikTok for that. So I just like feel like one tip would be like just remember that you're on social media and like, you know, that there's a lot of people on here that are not that probably don't want to. They're gonna go watch your video and they don't want to see it. So it's like how do you like attract those people that probably don't? Because you know, when you're in a classroom, everyone's there to learn about that. But on TikTok, a lot of people are going to watch your videos that probably don't want to learn about it. So I think that's important. And then so we're creating a safe space. I think just the biggest thing is just that when you're on social media, like there's a lot of like I said, like in a classroom, most people are going to be respectful and just understanding that like your safety is important. So it's like if a video you post and like people are being rude, like you always delete it and just delete the video, you know? Like I think that's important, just like put your safety first and just understand that people just are gonna probably say stuff that's not okay. But as long as just and another thing I would say is just like people are not always gonna agree with you and that's okay. Like you might post a video and people be like, I disagree, but as long as it's respectful, that's all that matters. I guess just probably accepting that not everyone's gonna agree with what you're saying.
And I think what I would add to that is there are guidelines that are created based off of feedback and complaints and unions and things like that. Some things we get to see, some things that we don't get to see. And sometimes the guidelines that are created by the company, by the site, could be harmful to certain people. And I think another way, like people to keep yourself safe is understand what platform that they're on. Because you said like you are on social media, which I think is very important. I think sometimes people lose sight of that because it can be a revolutionary thing. And as you become revolutionized, you start thinking like people need to be knowledgeable about what they're getting themselves into, what they're doing, because someone could post a video in the site and like, I don't agree. I'm taking this down. It is harmful. And people are like, I'm harmful. There's a video over here that's like legit actually harmful. I'm feeling targeted. And I think at that point, there needs to be a space for creators to just find time to detach themselves and, you know, to have a social detox for themselves and just be able to have like, you know, a support group because sometimes safety guidelines are not truly safe for everybody that's on that app. It could be to censor certain people and things like that. Do you have any, you know, final comments that you
Comments? I would just say in general, yeah, like when it just comes to TikTok and just I would say like if you're afraid of like kind of like wanting to share like your opinions on stuff, just remember that like your voice matters and that I think it's just important to always try like you know you only live once, you know, and I think that if you're kind of scared of like what could happen, then like if you don't try, then you'll never know. You know, I mean, it's pretty simple, and I feel like a lot of people have heard this, but it's true, and it's like something I've had to come over to. Is just get over. It's just that, you know, like if you never try, you never know. Like do it, you never know, and it's also okay to fail. Like there's gonna be a lot of videos that you post that are not gonna get a lot of views, and that's just kind of you have to accept that sometimes. Where you put a lot of work into one video on TikTok that doesn't get a lot of views, and then a video you kind of just scrapped up in the last minute just gets a bunch of views. You know, that's just kind of how the way TikTok works. But yeah, that's kind of like the thing I would say is just don't be afraid to share your voice, and either it's on TikTok or anything, and just don't be afraid to fail because it's gonna happen a lot.
I'm very, very happy that you mentioned that, which I have a segment that I like to do called Drop a Gem, but I'm going to change to Drop That Knowledge. Boom. You know, I have to have the boom. It has to be centric. So before I share mine that I low-key is going to steal from you, what knowledge are you going to drop on us?
Let's see. I was kind of gonna go with the whole failure thing, but I would just say, let me think for a second, because that was kind of like my little knowledge thing right there.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll reiterate. Yeah. Pretty much just don't be afraid to fail. You're gonna fail a lot more times than you before you succeed. And I would say just don't be afraid to follow your dreams, whether it's on TikTok or anything, because like I said, you only live once, and I think people are just very like much afraid to fail. And I think once you get past that, not caring about what people think and about the failure part, then you'll be able to achieve anything.
Mhm. I've learned a lot from you. I'm a big social media hater. I'm a big, only because I'm a technology hater. But what you taught me with your last little tidbit is to keep going. There is no shame in not reaching your goal and reaching where you want to be. There is no shame in trying something new so that way it benefits your classroom, it benefits yourself as an educator, as a learner, it benefits your space. It benefits everyone around you because that is the way to keep going. That is the way to grow. That is the way to help others grow. That is the way to keep the circle of learning going. And boom, we just dropped that knowledge on them. I mean, what more can you say? Thank you for joining us for another episode of What's Going On, the Social Studies Network podcast with Jose. I really enjoyed talking to you today.
I did too. Yep, that was great.
You made me so much more confident in my TikToking. I will try to dip my toe and push it onto my future students. But thank you for joining in. This was a very fun and great episode.